All right, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us today. I'm joined with my buddy Joe, and today we're going to be talking about drugs.
The good stuff,
Yeah, the good
the
stuff.
juicy stuff.
Um, just seems like nowadays, like I mean, I guess it's still a taboo kind of topic for like the mainstream, right? But like
Yeah,
in the fitness space, it's just out there now. You know what I mean? Like it's just out there. Like
yeah,
everybody's talking about it openly, and it's it's still an illegal thing. It's not legal, but everybody kind of openly talks about it. Like when I first started coming up, um, you couldn't really. There was not really any resources for this stuff. There wasn't any great information. There was some stuff on the forums, but there wasn't like these sort of courses like J through U. Um, and it just wasn't available, Um, but I guess I'll kick it to you. Like, do you like seeing everybody talking about, that they're using this and using that and seeing the physiques? Because you're natural, so
yeah,
you've got some insight into this. So I am long since that ship has long since sailed for me. um, but for you, do you have any sort of like curiosity or feel any pressure or want or need to explore that?
yeah. If I were to say that I wasn't curious, it would just be a flat out lie. I mean, like you said, it's everywhere. All of the influencers. Um, I just feel like, yeah, like you said, it's so talked about. It's so out there now. Um, I think everyone that's in this space has at least thought about it. For me, it's never been about. Of course, a little bit of it has been about like the physique and stuff like that. How would my body change, especially with being dialed in with like nutrition and the workouts and stuff, since like working with you, just to see how my body would change. But if I were to, I never felt like I would never feel pressured. And I feel like, do you feel like there's a pressure for people just because it is so out there? Do you think it being so talked about all the time is pressure, or do you think it's just people being honest and open and um, it's a personal choice?
No, I mean, I think because it's on one side of the coin, people being so open and all the information that we have is great because we have wonderful resources for education. So the information is out there for you to do these things properly and kind of mitigate the health risks and whatnot. But on the other side, you there's a lot of young people that just they're not going to seek that information. They just want to know where to get it, and
Yeah.
they just associate, I take this thing, I get this result, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And I think a lot of too what's happened and just kind of what I see is that the younger generation, and not even just the younger generation, but like I just see like all these like kind of natty or knots, right?
Yeah.
And I see like these physiques that pop up in my Instagram feed, and you know, it was just like, God, I wish I knew what his name was. Um, but it was an incredible natural physique, and he is a basically a world class champion. He's like an Asian guy, like a shorter Asian guy. Great insertions, great muscle bellies, super lean, and he's in a tested federation. He's passed multiple drug tests, multiple polygraphs, and everybody in the comments is just like, there's just no way he's natural. There's just no way. I think people are almost so desensitized to like the PED usage that it's warped their minds in terms of what is actually achievable naturally. People just think that anybody with a physique like is on gear. And like it's
Yeah.
crazy to me. It's like, man, like you can build a very impressive natural physique if you dedicate yourself to the craft. Um, so it's wild to me. Like, I before I ever hopped on anything, like I got, super lean, had veins all in my arms. Like I've always been vascular, had a six pack, had quad lines, striations all on my shoulders. I got the pictures of it. Now I was under 200 pounds. So, you
Right.
know, but I feel like most people would probably in this day and age look at that and be like, oh, he's on something. And it's just it couldn't be further from the truth. I think people have gotten really out of touch with what is possible for a natural physique. And like if you so I follow like a lot of like the 3D MJ guys, Alberto Nunez, and Revive Stronger, Steve Hall. He has got a really great podcast. And so I'm not super into the natural bodybuilding side of things, but like I follow it a little bit. And
Mhm.
some of their physiques are incredible, like absolutely incredible. So you don't have to get on gear to have an incredible physique. And I think people now just think that any amount of muscle, any amount of leanness just equals drugs.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I feel like when I would see comments like that, and yeah, I agree. I mean, I haven't used anything like that or anything, but seeing how even people train and seeing how they eat, it's like there's still a level that they themselves haven't even gotten to. And so it kind of just comes to like, oh, anyone who looks better than me or works harder than me has to be using something. Would you say that's the biggest like misconception that there is when it comes to that usage is just like I take this, I get the result, and that's all it is? Is there other ones that you would say or like there's more misconceptions other than that one?
Yeah, dog. Like, so what most people don't realize is that you are not going to change your physique to any major degree off of one cycle.
Mm,
Doesn't work like that. There's a small percentage of people that have just wonderful genetics, particularly pertaining to like their response to anabolics, and they grow off of very little and very quickly. They are the minority. For most of us with just like average to good genetics, you are not going to just hop on a cycle and morph. You're not just going to get this body that you want in 116, 18, however many week cycle that you think.
yeah.
Um, Odds are it's going to, if you look at a lot of the guys, if you just kind of look at the the national level in the NPC and even in the pro level, in the IFBB, a lot of these guys, with these wonderful physiques, they have been using gear for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And they've been using gear for that amount of time, also doing all the other shit that is required to optimize that gear. That means their meals are on point, they're
Yeah.
hitting their cardio, they're training their balls off, and it still takes that time span to put on that sort of tissue. So I do think it's a big misconception, and it's one that I had myself. The first cycle that I did was, and this is the kind of dates me for the time that I started, but was 500 milligrams of test. And while my weight shot up, I got bigger, I got stronger. I didn't morph like I thought I was gonna morph. Not at all. I was just like a slightly bigger, slightly heavier version of what I already was before. It just doesn't happen like that for the vast majority of people. It's something that, and a lot of it probably for me, honestly, is that as much as I thought I was ready, I was not ready. Because if you asked me then, how's your diet? I would have told you, no, my diet's good. My diet's solid. How's your training? Oh, training solid. But me now looking back on that, I don't know what the fuck I was talking about.
Oh,
It wasn't, my diet wasn't solid. My training wasn't solid.
yeah.
Um, it just wasn't. And so I wasn't even in a place to take full advantage of the gear because I didn't have my other shit buttoned up, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Yeah.
So what was how old were you? How old when you were you when you decided that you were gonna hop on? And what were the biggest maybe lessons that your first like cycle taught you, I guess? Like what made you curious about it? And then, why did you just decide to make that leap at that time?
So how old was I? I don't know. I was probably 27. So I didn't even actually. So I'm 37 now. Yeah, I'm 37 now. I didn't start working out like weight training until my late 20s. Um,
Okay.
and so I'm getting my timeline screwed up because I was natural for a few years before I ever got into it. Um, so maybe I started training with weights when I was like 25, 24, somewhere around there. Um, but yeah, probably like somewhere around 27, 28. And for me, it was when I first started using gear, it wasn't out of necessity. It wasn't that I planned on competing. I just liked working out. Um, and I had access to it. I was kind of influenced because somebody that was close to me at the time was a really big guy that used gear. And I was, against it initially, but I just kind of sparked my curiosity and ended up going over to the dark side. But for me, and that's a question like, should you even use gear if you don't plan on competing?
That's what I was about to ask you.
I would, I would probably say there's my personal answer to that question. My personal opinion is that you have autonomy over your body.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are competitors, they like to almost gatekeep or stand on their high horse and say, "There's no point to use steroids unless you're going to compete." Well, that's not true. Like you could do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are people that just like to recreationally use anabolics because they like to train. They like to see the changes in their body. So who am I to tell you what to do? It just so happened that for me, I, I, I didn't, I didn't take the gear because I wanted to compete. I didn't know anything about competing, powerlifting, bodybuilding. I just liked the experiment. I liked the process. I've always been kind of into the nuts and bolts and the numbers. So I like tracking the data and seeing my weight change, seeing my visuals change, and kind of tracking all this stuff. But I think that it just is completely up to you as an individual. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I think I agree. It's a personal choice, but I think there's what I've seen with like the fitness industry is people they're lying about their usage or just lying about being on it, period, and using their look to sell programs, and it's a false, they're selling false hopes to people that maybe don't know better.
I mean, I think that there are certain cases where it makes sense to omit your usage. Like,
Why? What would that case be?
what would The Rock gain from telling everybody that he's on steroids?
I mean, he has everything.
But he would only lose. What would
I
he
mean, but
gain?
he's also not selling like workout programs, I feel like. Like if that's your thing, if that's your like I can get people these
So
results or whatever it is, and you're on something and you're like, this is all my work, and it's like, well, you've been blasting
so
for
are so hold on. Are we talking about somebody? So let's say it's uh an influencer on Instagram. They're posting pictures of their body, right? They're saying stuff like train like me, I'll get you results, follow, here's my 8-week program or
yeah.
whatever, right? And now are they explicitly saying that they are natural, or are they just not saying anything? Because I have two different feelings about that.
I mean, if you're not saying anything, I feel like you're avoiding telling the truth. If you're not open about it, I think if you're gonna have a brand where you help people and you're on something, I feel like it would be the honest thing to just either document your usage or even say it or something. If you've built a brand on how you look and you're just hiding a whole part of what got you your look, do you not have to disclose like, hey guys, I'm also, you know, would it not be more honest to just be upfront with your usage so people don't sign up and give you their money thinking they're going to get XYZ?
I think a part of it, like I could go both ways, you know. I think a part of it is that like man, like, and I guess this kind of goes back to my point before with warped, but people having like warped expectations, like people, it's messed up. Like the general public, you know, that's not super into fitness, they don't know when somebody's on steroids or not. Like
Yeah.
I had my buddy years ago send me a picture of Kai Green. He's like, "Do you think this guy?" Or no, it was Kali Muscle. "Do you think this guy's
Okay.
on steroids?" And I was like, "Bro, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you talking about?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you have people in the fitness space that are looking at this 170-pound, you know, shredded dude, and they're like, "Oh, he's on gear for sure."
Yeah,
Like complete opposite ends of the spectrum. And I think some of it just like some of it has to fall on the responsibility has to fall on the consumer. Like man,
for
like come
sure.
on, like bro, look at this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I understand where people can have a hard time with that. I guess the thing that I struggle with is there's a big difference between omitting and lying outright. Of course, if this individual is claiming that they are natural, or if they get asked directly and they say they are natural when they're not, and they're selling, you know, they're kind of selling these programs or whatever the case may be, I have issue with that. But I think another thing you got to understand is like, what if this person has sponsorships and deals, and if they just come
Sure.
out and they come out and say like, hey, I'm on steroids, they lose these sponsorships and they lose these deals. And what if they are a part of, you know, the bigger fitness industry where like we are in this little kind of niche, right? Which is like bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in this bodybuilding space like understand that gear is a thing. But you got to kind of expand your view because fitness is bigger than bodybuilding. And so it's way bigger than just bodybuilding. And so if you just come out and say like, hey, I'm on gear, like that might change, depending on what your audience is, change the viewpoint of these people, right? And I just I don't know. It's there's not like a great answer to it. And I think that if I were to put myself into that position, I would probably be more open and honest about it, but I don't know because I'm not, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like you're pretty open. Like I feel like if anyone asks you, you would tell them.
Right, but that's where I'm at right now. I don't have sponsorships.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position where if I say that if I'm open about it that I could lose a potential of my income. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the
So just
kind
the
of
context changes, depending on what you've got on the
so
line kind of
and,
thing.
and that's where I think if they're not like straight up lying about it, like some of the responsibility has to fall on the consumer, like to do your due diligence and just like look a little bit deeper than the surface level because you know if you dig deep enough, like you can see what's going on. You know.
What would be so what would be some things that you maybe didn't consider when you started using it? That like had you known more, maybe it would have changed your mind, or just what things did you not know about that you learned, just through your experience?
So yeah, this is something that you know because I work with some younger guys and they ask me like, well, you know, what are the considerations? You know, what should I be worried about? This and that, and like the first one is that, and this is all stuff that I didn't really know. Like I can say this now in hindsight with all the information and experience that I've accumulated, right? But like the first thing that I would say is that you need to understand that if you choose to go down this path, the odds are that you will not do one cycle. It's not going to be a one and done. Odds are you will dabble with these performance enhancing drugs for a very long time, if not the rest of your life. In some capacity, whether that is like doing, full blown cycles or whether you just end up on TRT. That is just the odds of it. The odds are that you are going to continue doing this. You're not just going to, hey, I'm going to try one cycle and see how it is.
Yeah.
Odds are at some time you're going to circle back around or you're just not going to stop. And that is because drugs work. Drugs work.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's a I don't know if a feeling is the right word, but like it feels really good. Like when you see your body changing, you see some of the strength and this is really like when the diet and the training all starts coming together, you're getting these crazy pumps. Um, it can be addicting in that way. But beside that, you may have a legitimate necessity to stay on testosterone because maybe your endocrine system doesn't recover. And I think that that's not really the case for many people. I think that if you were to do a cycle or two and then just stop and you go through the proper protocols to come off, that most people are going to recover just fine. There's the very few amount of people that are just going to have their endocrine system messed up to the point that they no longer produce natural testosterone. Um, but aside from that, so like, okay, so we've got basically like you're probably not just going to do one cycle. You're probably going to mess around inevitably, right? Until
Mhm.
you have a real reason to stop, which is for me, like I'm gonna be on hormone replacement till the day I die. Like I have no reason not to be. Um, so the next consideration really is fertility. Um, and that's like, so you've got a young guy like, okay, I want to do a cycle, and they just, hey, I want to bodybuild, you know, and that involves staying on using hormones over a longer period of time. And the initial mindset when you're young is like, I don't even have a girl, I don't want kids, I
Yeah.
don't want any of that. Look, I'm telling you, the way that you think when you're in your early and mid 20s is not going to be the way that you think when you're in your mid and late 30s. It's not. You think you're grown, you think you're mature, you're not. And, if you don't have a girl now and that family is not on the horizon, at some point in time, you're probably going to meet a real nice girl and she's probably going to want to have a family.
Yeah.
You're probably going to want to do that thing. That's just the natural evolution. That's just what it is. And so that's something that you have to consider because extended use of exogenous hormones is going to have an impact on your fertility. It just is. And that's kind of the position that I'm in. It's a little bit more complicated than that for me. And I'm not going to get into all the details, but I'm at a place where my fertility parameters were not great. And so now I have to use all these other medications to get it rolling, and it's kind of been this hard start and a lot of ups and downs. But that is something that needs to be considered. You need to understand that you could potentially be making it harder for you and your future girl, wife, whoever, to conceive a child. And if that is something, and I would honestly say, as an insurance policy, that's where I would just recommend periodic use of HCG. And we're not going to get too much into the drug side of thing, but that's just like, hey, if you're going to go down this road, even if you feel like you're not going to want kids, just go ahead, just plug in some HCG from time to time, and that just helps to keep your nuts online in effect. Okay. Um, Now, aside from that, the other considerations is it's not just the drugs. Like testosterone is super cheap. Like
Yeah.
a vial of testosterone is like $30-$40. Okay. So like the actual injectables, they're not that expensive. Okay. But what does add up is the ancillaries required to do things properly. So that might include anti-estrogens that might include, blood pressure medications, all of the over-the-counter supplements to keep yourself in good shape. That stuff adds up. So if you've got the money, the couple $100 to put together a cycle, but you don't have the other couple $100 to have these ancillary supplements and medications in place to make sure that you are keeping yourself healthy, you're going to end up being in a bad spot. And a part of that too is regular blood work. Um, back in the day, it was a little bit harder to get blood work, but now we're at a place where you can get blood work privately. You don't have to go to your doctor and lie to them and tell them like, oh, I just want to see what my blood work is. And the doctor's like, well, why do you want blood work? Like, you're too young to be asking for this stuff. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can get your blood work done privately. I'm actually an affiliate from Private MD Labs. I've got a link up in my link tree on my Instagram. You can get your blood work done privately, and that's a cost though. So it's not crazy expensive, but you're looking at, if you really want to stay on top of things,
Right.
you're looking at something like, 150 to 250 dollars at least twice a year. That's kind of the bare minimum that I would, suggest is getting blood work at least twice a year. But if you can get blood work done every 3 months, then you should do that because it helps you to stay on top of things. So yeah, I think just a lot of people, they get into it without realizing all of the things that come with it in order for you to really stay on top of things and do it properly and make sure you're not getting yourself into a hard spot.
It's a very expensive habit, especially if it's going to be something that some people are going to be on for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like a lot of it, if you're just talking about like just testosterone replacement, like true TRT, where you're doing like maybe 200 milligrams of testosterone or less per week, it's not going to take so much. There's not going to be so much oversight that needs to be in place because you are essentially replacing what your body would naturally produce, or maybe the high end of what's normal, right? Maybe just above it. And that is not typically where you run into problems because you're not super physiologic. You're not above what you would normally
Right.
be doing. You're still operating within the body's normal framework. It's when you start going above what's normal that you need to start paying more attention. The same way that race cars, you gotta have to do a lot more maintenance and upkeep, change the tires, all this other stuff on race cars because you are putting more stress on that vehicle because you're driving the fucking thing hard. And so you have to pay attention to it. If the check engine light comes on and the thing starts beeping and booping and bopping, and you just say, I get to it next week, I don't really
Yeah.
have money for it. Well, guess what? You just blew your whole fucking motor up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to pay attention to it. So that's kind of what we're working with in this scenario.
So this is like it kind of is related, but I was listening to someone, I can't remember who it was, and I feel like he was glorifying the usage for younger people.
Togi.
Nah, not Togi. Actually, I think I followed this dude on Instagram. I had to unfollow him after this. But he was talking about do it when you're younger because you have a better chance or more time of recovering if you do decide to get off it sooner. So he was like, it sounded like he was coming from like a reap the rewards earlier on. I think he was coming from it from like a build your business standpoint, which is like use these to get this look and then build your business, and then because you're young you'll have a easier time recovering from it. Is there any truth to that? Well, if you use it younger, are you going to be able to recover or bounce back from it sooner than if you were to start using at an older age?
Well, I don't know, but
I
I
suppose I suppose it's without knowing dosage. It sounds very broad, without knowing what maybe form of steroids he's talking about or
so
what
I
dosages
think
or
it, I
anything like that.
so I don't know, but I think it really honestly it probably comes down more so than young versus old to this is going to sound bad, but like steroid mileage. Regardless of your age, how much time have you racked up using high dosages?
Okay.
Period. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't know that somebody that starts using steroids when they're 30 years old, and uses them for 10 years is going to have much more detrimental impact than somebody that is, 20 years old, but also uses them for 10 years. I think the argument is there. He's kind of right in a sense, because it all just depends. Like, if before that time frame you were eating like a piece of shit, you weren't taking care of yourself, you have all these other lifestyle factors that weren't dialed in, then yeah,
Yeah.
like if you start when you're 20, you've only had 20 years of being a piece of shit. If you start when you're 30, you've got, 10 more years of being a piece of shit before you won't get your shit in order to, kind of go down that path. So I don't know. I mean, I understand the argument. I definitely understand the argument, for sure. But then it also comes back to, you think you think that you have your ducks in, like, how many young people, like, you think about a 21-year-old kid, 22, 23, how many of them are going to really stay on top of their blood work?
Yeah.
They're going to check their blood pressure, multiple times a week, right? They're going to get their blood work. They're going to have all these ancillaries. They're going to have these things in place. I don't know, right? Whereas somebody in their 30s that's maybe more established, or late 20s even, that's more established, where they've got a set routine, they've got stable income, they've got the means to do these things, right, could
Yeah.
probably stay on top of it a little bit more. So I don't think it's that cut and dry, but I understand what he's saying, and I think it could kind of go um either way. But I think most younger guys, unless they have really good guidance, um, have a good coach that can keep them on the right path and can kind of hold their hand through this process, unless they have that, most of them just aren't going to do the shit they need to do to stay on top of it.
Yeah. They don't have the habits in place yet to even be, yeah, like you were saying. So I don't know, because I've heard a bunch of people talking about it. It's also just influencers too, saying don't hop on anything until you're 25 or 24 or 27. What's your opinion on, just like, is there an age range, or is it, if you have your ducks in a row, like you were just saying, like, that's a better gauge than waiting to become, a certain age to do it?
So what was the question again?
Like, do you agree that there's, like, wait till you're 25, 26, 27 before hopping on to anything? Is there anything to maybe how your body is developed by that point? Or are you more of the opinion that, like, if you're 21 and you have your ducks in a row, like you were just saying, you have a good coach, you have your nutrition dialed, you have your fitness dialed in and stuff, like, would you say that it's just like, if you want to do it, but
So yeah, I don't know. I would probably say that, 21, you're still, it all kind of comes down to like what you're trying to do. Like,
yeah,
if you are trying to really be like a competitive bodybuilder and make it to the national level or make it to the pro level, and you've got good guidance, hey, maybe you get rolling, maybe you get going sooner than later. But I think what it really boils down to, you're kind of asking the question of genetics. Do you max out your natural potential before you hop on? Is that kind of what you're asking?
yeah, I guess, as opposed to hitting a certain age and then just being like, oh, okay, I'm here, like, I'm free to hop on, I'm free to start whatever it is I want to do.
If we're looking at genetics, I could spin it either way. Because check it out. Like, what if you've got shit genetics, and
Yeah,
you're just dead set on it. You're like, I want to be a competitive bodybuilder. I want to push this. I want to see what I can do. But you've not great genetics, right? Like, are you just gonna waste more time, waste more
yeah,
time on your shit genetics, or are you gonna, let's go ahead and go to the next level and see what that gets me? right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
guess to really answer that question, in order for you to know if you have shit genetics, you do need to spend some time with those genetics. So that's not like a year, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm talking about like you're spending a couple years training naturally, and not just spending a couple years training naturally, but spending a couple years training naturally, doing all of the shit that comes with the territory. So if you're missing meals, if you're not really living the bodybuilding lifestyle, you can't possibly know what your genetics are unless you have outstanding genetics. Then
Yeah.
you'll know either way. Okay. If you've got outstanding genetics, you'll know either way. But if you are average, like most of us, you're not really going to know what your genetics are unless you spend some time with them living the bodybuilding lifestyle. That means hitting your meals, training hard, prioritizing sleep, checking all these boxes week on week on week, month on month on month. And then you'll have a kind of a better gauge, you know. And I think rather than an age timeline, I think it is best to kind of look at it like that, where like you spend time really living the bodybuilding lifestyle, and then you'll kind of have a better gauge for it. And you might be surprised, you might make so much progress that you're like, I don't really see a reason to go to that side,
Hmm.
because I'm happy with where I'm at, I'm happy with the progress that I'm making. Or you may feel the need because you're not making that progress and you're giving it your all, or you just want more, right? Or you hit that ceiling. So it's it's hard. It's honestly it's hard to say. I don't have a hard and fast rule. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I always kick it back when people ask me. I always kick it back that it's your choice. You need to make this choice for yourself. All I can do is give you the information that I've just talked about in terms of the considerations, what it's going to entail. You know what I mean? What you're going to have to do to optimize it and to make sure you're not digging yourself into an early grave. And then if you want to make that commitment and think you can, then hey, green light for
All
me. You
means.
know? Yeah.
So what would you say the biggest, I mean, I suppose if you didn't have everything dialed in before, like how you were talking about, you were training, not using anything like natural, you look shredded, you look good. But what were the biggest differences, I guess, in your training, between going from natural to non-natural? And is it that big of a difference? That some people like make it seem like your recovery is way faster. You're able to do a ton more in the gym. You're able to, handle more weight or just go longer. Is it a night and day difference, or is it like you can kind of close the gap in some of these things by just dialing your nutrition, your recovery, your cardio in? Is it that big of a difference?
I mean, I can only tell you my personal anecdote. And for me, I got a lot stronger. I got a lot freaking stronger to where I want to say like before I got on, I was able to like back squat like 275 or 295 for
It's
maybe
6:30.
5 or 6 reps. Um and then when I got on, I was doing sets of like 315, you know, for 10, right? Like just repping it out. My bench flew up big time. But with that too, like I wasn't in a place where I had my ducks in a row with my form. So because my strength shot up so quickly on the lower body stuff, it just and my form wasn't dialed in, right? But I just had that nervous system drive, and I had that feeling, like you just feel it when you grab the bar. Because that strength was there and my mindset was like, oh, this is awesome, just go harder. Like I created issues with my knees, you know what I mean? Because my body just wasn't, I wasn't ready for it from a form standpoint, and my tissue and ligaments, my connective tissue wasn't ready for it either. So that created problems that I believe that I still deal with to this day, because for me, my strength did really go up considerably. But at that point in time, I was also not really training for bodybuilding. I was just in the gym training. I didn't really know too much. I was probably doing like a hybrid, and that's how I like to train. It's kind of like more power building, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I didn't really know the ins and outs of bodybuilding training. I just knew moving weight from point A to point B. Um, but if your shit's real, you should notice your strength go up. If your shit's real, you should notice more fullness, more roundness. You should notice a difference, a pretty decent difference. But again, circling back to what I said before, it's not like it's just going to mutate your body in one cycle. You're going to
Yeah.
have these things that you pick up on in your training, and it's going to be cool, but it's not just going to give you a whole ass new body in a few weeks. Like this stuff still, the process of building muscle with or without performance enhancing drugs is a slow process for sure.
I wanna time out really quick. Is the time that we spent Saturday recording part of the 2 hours?
Yep.
So how do you know how long we have? Because that went on for like 20 minutes and we
Yeah.
already
We've got like 10 minutes left.
okay, okay. Um, okay, so we can resume. But well, you were just talking about if your stuff is real. I feel like that's another consideration too, right? Like people can be buying tainted stuff, no? Or is that a common thing too? Like more common than people would think?
I think it used to be more common than it is now. Um, because at this point in time, most of the underground labs, well, first of all, you have access now to legitimate prescription medications, right? So you can get a script fairly easily, right? And some clinics are better than others, but on the underground side of things, a lot of places at this point in time, they are providing third party testing through Janoschik, which is the kind of the guy that tests all the UGL stuff. So they're providing you, excuse me, up to date listing, basically a certificate of analysis saying that this product is what it is. It's batched. You can look at the dates to see that it's up to date. And I'm sure some of that stuff could be fudged. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they could probably get on Adobe and, Photoshop it and shit. But also, a lot of these underground labs will pay you for your blood work because they want to prove to their
Okay.
consumers that what they're selling is what it's supposed to be. So I think that, back in the day, like there really wasn't any way to know if your shit was real or not. But now, um, through the Janoschik testing, through the accessibility to blood work, like you can really easily tell if your testosterone is real or not because you just go get your labs pulled. And if you're on 400 mgs a test and your testosterone comes back at under 1,000, right? It's
Mhm.
you've got underdosed gear for sure. So it's a lot easier now to know that you're getting
Quality stuff.
pretty quality stuff. Yeah, for sure.
I gotcha. Um, damn, I'm like,
I mean, at this point, I think we covered quite a bit of stuff. So, you
yeah.
know, I don't know if there's anything else that you.
Well, so what would your closing statement be in regards to this then? After everything that we talked about, how would you cap this off?
Closing statement would be I honestly would say, like, consider everything that I talked about. Like, consider, what comes with the territory in terms of, having to do the blood work, the ancillary, supplements and medication, the potential for, impacts on, fertility. Consider that stuff. And it boils down to your personal choice. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can do whatever you want to do, and nobody can tell you otherwise. But I would say that whether you are doing it recreationally or doing it for competition, that you probably are you would probably be in a better position to hire a coach to give you guidance, and to kind of keep you in the safe zone and to steer the ship, because no matter how much research you do, there's just going to be certain situations and things that pop up that you're just not prepared for. And a coach that has experience in this realm can kind of keep you on the straight and narrow for sure.
It's like surgery. You can do all the research on how to perform surgery, but you're never actually going to know until you go and perform.
Pretty much. Yep. Pretty much. And if you've got a surgeon in your corner that's watching you do the surgery and he's done 10,000, like he can tell you, hey man, you don't want to snip that one. You want to do it this way. So yeah, but I think at the end of the day, to me, it just boils down to personal choice, being educated, and being as safe as you can.
Beautiful.
So,
Beautiful.
all right. Hey, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching, guys. Joe and I are both coaches. So if you want to reach out for coaching, our information will be down below in the description.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Thanks for watching. See you.
Peace, guys. Hey, decent. I'm happy with that one.